I have a simple question for you, Andy Johnson. Who is Stephen A. going to blame and scream about anything negative NBA related when LeBron retires?
Who's our next guy?
Who's the guy to blame for everything?
Can I use another player in his generation? Because Kevin Durant would probably be next on my list.
Kevin Durant is like 2 years, 3 years behind him.
Yeah, they're very similar.
So if I took him, Curry, Durant, LeBron,
that era of player that's nearing the end.
Who's the next wave of 65-year-old screaming A. Smith blaming everything negative NBA on the way he did yesterday with LeBron?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's going to fall on Anthony Edwards.
Really?
I think Anthony Edwards is going to get it. Too big of an ego. What have you actually won? Your team's been disappointing this year. There was the video of him in the Netflix documentary telling Obama he's the truth, and Obama asking the other players, like, what's up with this guy? I think Anthony Edwards, I think he's going to get the brunt of it.
You think Anthony Edwards is his go-to, huh?
I did not see what was LeBron's fault. The whole All-Star weekend is LeBron's fault?
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the dunk contest sucks. Well, it's LeBron's fault. You should see the comments, too. The comments are hilarious. Like, oh, LeBron created global warming. Oh, LeBron ruined our economy.
Killing all those polar bears, man.
ESPN was playing You Do, You Don't with Udonis Haslem. Guess what he did about the new format? You don't. I was like, you know what? It's creative.
That's pretty good right there. I'll give you credit for that.
But creative.
I'll give you credit for that. He also called on Kevin Durant to fix the All-Star game, which I thought, okay, so all right, he's now like the All-Star game czar. We're putting him in charge with fixing everything from the entire weekend. That whole narrative stuff is just ridiculous, man. I don't understand it. I rolled my eyes at it yesterday, and I love pointing out the hypocrisy of the entire criticism of it. Even Swag, who has watched sports longer than us because he's older than us, he came into the show yesterday with this idea, like back in the day, All-Star games used to be tight and competitive. And then I started rattling off scores from 1987. And there's no response. This is the way the game has always been.
I did wonder, all jokes aside of like who do you blame and who gets yelled at, can Wemby carry the league? This is one little thing I am wondering. I don't dismiss the idea of it being possible. But the international face... Mm-hmm. It's such an international game right now. Can a Wembanyama carry that league? Because I do think if you were to say in the future, if they don't abandon that All-Star weekend and we go into it, we're like, oh, we're going to all scream and hate it. But like there's a year to go, oh my God, how about that? Those guys tried.
Good little game right there.
I do think Wemby's the kind of guy to have enough FU energy to maybe go, no, I'm going to dunk on you. I don't care. Or, oh, you want to dunk on me? I'm going to try to block your shot.
Yeah, I'm not just going to let you go to the hoop unchecked.
I wondered if a Wemby can carry it.
I think the question about all of these guys in the NBA, and I've always argued this, there are only two people that are held accountable, or two positions that are held accountable to win championships. And it's quarterbacks in the NFL, and it's star players in the NBA. And everybody else, it doesn't really matter. Baseball, you can be the best player in baseball. It doesn't matter.
Mike Trout.
Shohei didn't have one until this year. Nobody was like, Shohei's really not that good, though. What has he done in October? It's like, no, he's doing stuff we've never seen before. He's the best player on the planet, even though the Angels didn't make the playoffs the year before.
Hockey doesn't abide by this.
Hockey doesn't. I mean, there's a little bit of it the longer you go, but for a lot of guys earlier in their career, you're just like, he's an unbelievable talent. You appreciate it.
You're right there, and I would bow to the hockey smarts you bring to the show. But what I would say is, like, even if you had an all-time great, let's say it's McDavid.
Yeah.
McDavid wins one.
He does not have a cup yet. He lost in Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Final.
Right. But if he doesn't win one, let's say he wins one in 5 years, and it's his first, those guys only largely need one.
Yes.
And it's just like you don't do the ring counting
Ovechkin
thing.
Got one.
Yeah.
He needed one.
Right.
He finally got one. What is it, 2019, when Washington finally won? So to answer your Wembanyama question, how many titles has he won? Because I think that has to be the face of the league. That's the only person the NBA will bow down to and respect as the face of the sport. And if you don't have multiple championships, I don't think you have the ability to do that.
I thought Jaylen Brown made a really good point on some of that stuff. He said so I don't know if you saw this live, but between the title game, I think it was the halfway point of the championship game.
Yeah, probably did not see it live.
They stopped it, and they did this weird Kevin Hart tribute thank you to Inside the NBA, the show.
Okay.
And so it's their last year having it. And so they bring out Ernie, Kenny, Chuck, Shaq.
Yeah, bring the whole crew out.
And he gets them going fishing gear, like new fishing jackets and poles. It's like a joke. Like, you make fun of the players for going fishing. You're going fishing after the year.
Yeah.
And Jaylen Brown said it really killed the vibe. And I was watching in real time, and I was agreeing. I'm like, why are we doing this right now?
This is really weird.
And I also thought it was a little weird to say this. It's one of the all-time great sports shows, without a doubt.
No question.
Also, it has felt in the last decade, I'd say really the Curry-Clay Warriors going to the forefront. A little odd that we act like it's been this groundbreaking, positive momentum-building thing. I think it's actually been the opposite for the league. Because the only guy who offers real X's and O's analysis is Kenny.
Yeah.
Shaq, if he's not trying to beat Kenny to the board, just goes, "Oh, you got to be tougher, man. You got to be tougher." And then
give it to the big guy in the post.
Charles just laments how much he hates the league and then just talks about how great hockey is. And that's the show representing the league. So it was a little odd thing of like, thank you to the player. Like Charles was like, thank you to the players. I'm like, you crap on them every single week.
He did it, yeah.
About how soft and they don't play and it's
Luka,
a terrible
LeBron
product.
won't fit. They can't play together.
I did find it a little odd to like. I get why we celebrate that show. It's one of my all-time favorites.
It deserves its flowers. I don't know about it in that moment.
Also, for the last decade, it's just been, well, the three-point thing's getting introduced here. You can't win that way. Well, they won that way.
They did.
It sucks. And it's just like constant. It sucks.
This product isn't any good. Look, there's a time and place for flowers. I didn't see that live. I just had it on in the background, so I probably wasn't in the room when that was happening.
It was awkward.
Time and place for that, not at All-Star Weekend. Not at All-Star Weekend. I love that show. I still watch that show. I agree with everything you're saying about the tone that they've had towards the league for basically 10 years now. That's a thing that just kind of it unwinds itself as the season goes on.
Yeah.
Like you do a thing at the end of the year, a specialty show, some way to give them their flowers. They don't need to cut time out of All-Star Weekend to do an homage to Inside the NBA.
I wanted to play this. This is my last little All-Star nugget. I didn't get to it yesterday. This is a little audio, and I'm assuming you didn't see this either because I don't think anybody watches the celebrity game anymore.
No.
It's a bunch of YouTubers.
When was that, Friday night?
It's Friday night.
Friday night. Okay,
yeah.
It starts the whole weekend?
It's just a bunch of YouTube influencers because they want to get that crowd into the NBA. And so the coaches are usually popular, figures tied to the area. And this year it was Jerry Rice and Barry Bonds coaching against each other. And this was the pregame back and forth.
Are we cool? Are we cool?
We okay.
Yeah, we all right.
We okay.
Okay, all right. Well, Barry, let's start with you. We know you're a heavy hitter, but when you look at your group, do you feel like you have home run plays on this team?
I'm a hometown boy. We just rented him.
The smack talk.
We borrowed Jerry. He's not from the Bay Area. I'm from the Bay Area. We gonna win.
You got a response to that?
What are you talking about? So how many rings do you have?
That's valid.
Wow.
How many rings do you have?
I have 2 divorce rings.
Oh, no, he didn't. Okay.
That's a pretty good comeback.
I mean, it's a great comeback.
That's a pretty solid
and
comeback.
then they dapped each other up at the end there because I think Jerry's like, oh, damn, you took it there. Huh?
He's not even from here. We adopted him.
He went Eminem 8 Mile. He just called himself out.
You're from across the bridge, man. You're from the suburbs.
I don't know where it's all going. People are saying getting rid of the weekend in general. I don't know what they're going to do.
They're not going to get rid of the weekend. They shouldn't. A lot of the criticism is caught in the moment stuff, and it was hilarious to me to see the reaction to what happened in hockey on Saturday night and to use that as a comparable to something that the NBA could do.
It was a smart move. Hockey won the weekend. There's
They
no doubt.
undoubtedly did, but we also had an All-Star weekend in the NHL. You know how bad the All-Star weekend in the NHL was?
Yeah, they just created this nation
because the All-Star
'Cause it
weekend was so bad.
Yeah.
And you can't duplicate this in basketball because there's not enough guys in the NBA. Like from France was in the gold medal game, right, against the United States. How many of those guys on France play in the NBA?
I think 2 or maybe 3.
Okay, so we're going to bring the French national team in to play?
No.
Like, how do you can't fix that.
But
you can't duplicate that.
The International USA game is the one that does interest me. I think that could be fun because it's such an international game now.
Without a doubt. If you had that and the guys took it seriously, I think it'd be great. But also, if they don't take it seriously, I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep over it. It's an all-star game.
I think it's 4.
4 guys on that team?
Wemby, Batum.
Is Batum still in the league?
Yeah. Yabusele and...
Big fan of his game.
What's the dude that
Big fan.
CJ hated? Used to play for the Magic. Got a stupid contract.
Fournier. Evan Fournier.
Fournier.
He's an NBA guy still.
I think there's 4.
Still sticking around?
Still.
Okay.
The international point, I think, is valid.
Whereas for the United States and Canada, all of those guys play on NHL rosters.